There you go. Governor Tate Reeves, good morning, sir. How are you? You're looking sharp.
Well, thank you. You're looking sharp this morning as well, Paul.
More relaxed than you in your business attire because you have places to go, I understand, a little bit later on this morning. So let's get to it because I know you don't have a lot of time here. But what can you tell us that we don't already know, and as far as what will happen at 10 o'clock this morning?
Well, again, Paul, thanks for having me on this morning. I often have breakfast with my daughters every morning, and I tell them when they're on their way to school most every day that today is a great day to have a great day. And I will tell you that today is a great day to have a great day in the state of Mississippi. It's an opportunity for the legislature to come together and vote and finalize an incentive package for what will be the largest economic development deal in the history of our state. And not only is it the largest, it's almost twice as large as any deal Mississippi's ever been engaged and involved in. And so it's about $2.5 billion in corporate capital investment. They will be creating and guaranteeing 1,000 new jobs in the Golden Triangle region of our state. And the great thing about this particular corporate investment is those jobs will pay an average salary that they are guaranteeing of $93,000 per year, twice that of the state average. So it's obviously a great opportunity for Mississippi. It's a great opportunity for that region of our state, and it's something that I hope that people across the state are as excited about as I am.
You said $240 million in incentives. Is that basically it, which you'll be voting on, or they'll be voting on?
That would be the top end, yes. Some of which will be paid back by the locals. The locals in that area have agreed to provide the nearly 2,000-acre site. We are going to borrow the money, and they're going to pay us back over time with their fee and lieu payments. And so there's some details there. Directly to the company is about $155 million, and there's also infrastructure and working with the locals as well. So if you look at this deal, not only is it the largest economic development in the history of our state, it's also probably on a per total wage basis, it's also about half as expensive as what the state of Mississippi has done in other deals. And that's something that, as we have briefed legislators over the last 3 or 4 or 5 days, has become very obvious. It's a very, very good deal for the state. You
got to help me out here, though. 93,000 just knocks us out of the imagination, because even in places like Nissan or Continental or Blue Springs, you know, when you start getting up in Mississippi at $75,000, $80,000, but you're talking about an average salary of $93,000, and then what is the expertise as far as what you can say? What are you talking about? The expertise needed to acquire a job there?
Well, the number one skill that one has to have to be employed at this particular company, I would say, is work ethic. You've got to be willing to get up and go to work, and it's hard work, but it's work that is very well compensated. I will tell you, this particular company that has operations throughout the United States, and particularly in the southeastern part of the United States, has a lot more employees than the 1,000 that they're going to bring on additional in Mississippi. So we actually have a history with this company. I'm certainly not here to toot their horn, but there are years through their bonus structure, because they have a profit-sharing plan in which many of their employees make far more than that $93,000 a year number. In fact, there are years in which many of their employees have made twice that amount. But again, it's hard work, and but it doesn't require a college degree. It does require a very strong work ethic and someone dedicated to a cause. And so, again, you can see where this really creates opportunities, because when you're talking about that many employees at that salary, you're talking about $100 million a year payroll. That's going to make a huge difference, not just in Lowndes County, where I would anticipate this being located, but in all the surrounding counties as well, because you're going to have employees. You're going to have 100 people, for instance, at least, that live in Monroe County that drive down to the facility to work. And if you only get 10% of the employees in your county, like a Monroe or a Clay, or other counties are in that area, you're talking about $10 million a year shot into the arm of the local economy. And I think that's why you're going to see a large bipartisan vote to support this project today.
Some of that 250 or 240 going to be infrastructure work because I understand they're going to be based near or use the Tenn-Tom.
That is right. The Tennessee-Tombigbee waterway is certainly a big advantage that we in the state of Mississippi have when it comes to economic development, and that's going to be utilized for this particular facility. But yeah, a big portion of that incentives is to build roads and to do other infrastructure needs in that particular area. The total site's going to be in excess of 2,000 acres, Paul, which leads me to believe very strongly, and maybe I have a little bit of information, that what you're probably going to see is once this announcement gets made and this deal gets done, should the legislature agree with us that this is a great deal for Mississippians, I think you'll ultimately see additional companies locate on the site. I think you'll see potentially suppliers for this entity locate on the site. I think you'll also potentially see customers locate on the site. So while the company is guaranteeing 1,000 jobs, I very firmly believe that you're going to see significantly more on this 2,000-acre site over the next 3 to 5 years.
Are any of those support factories part of this deal immediately, or are they expected to come later?
They will not be in the original and initial announcement, but I am very confident that will come in the very near future.
I read in between the lines of very confident, so I'll leave. I will leave it at that. I got to ask you. Was the new formula, we're putting together Accelerate Mississippi and this new formula saying, all right, guys, take all the questions out of it, here's what we offer. Did that play into this, or was that a little premature to play into this?
No, I think that the work that the legislature has done in workforce development and workforce training, the work that the legislature has done in terms of getting our incentives more in line and more competitive through the inflex legislation that passed last year, all of this has played a role in what is going to make 2022 the best economic development year in the history of Mississippi. If we're successful at getting this project done and finalized over the next 24 to 48 hours, and I'm very hopeful and optimistic that we will, then we're gonna be at a point of whereby we will have announced over $6 billion in new capital investment projects in Mississippi in 2022 alone. Our entire gross state product, Paul, in Mississippi is slightly less than $120 billion. So you're talking about not only record years, but slashing records by factors of zeros. And that's something that we can all be proud of. Yeah, coming right out of the pandemic. And that's something that every single member of the Mississippi legislature could be and should be very proud of, because the work that they've done, certainly over the last 3 years, but really over the last 8 to 10 years, has laid the foundation, which has put us in a position whereby companies all over the globe, not just all over the Southeast, not just all over the United States, but all over the globe, are looking to invest capital and create jobs in our state, and it's because of many of those bills that you mentioned earlier.
You also, I have 3 questions real quick. First of all, any clawbacks in this ones or that we need, or what is in the language of the bill?
Absolutely, there are clawbacks in the agreement, and what I would tell you, and I think the individual members of the legislature that have seen the language and those that will see it today will agree, these are the strongest clawbacks in any MMEIA legislation in the history of Mississippi as well. They have teeth, and we're going to hold the company accountable, but we're very confident that the company, based upon their past track record, is going to be successful.
Question 2 before we get to the break here. That 2,000 acres was not under a mega site already, right?
It's actually a combination of a number of different sites that were under various levels of contract, and so no, I don't think it was a cited super site.
I want to ask you when we come back what the end product looks like, if you can tell us, and where it might be used in the state or out of the state or both, and also in the time remaining, give your analysis up to date as of now on the Jackson water situation. All of that when we come back with the governor. But we have a limited time here, so let me get back with the governor on live in the Trustmark studios. We were talking about the clawbacks and all of that when we last left you, and I asked you about the end product. We know that it's aluminum of some sort. I'm visioning these big rolls of aluminum, and I'm just asking if you can tell us, is that product going to be used in the state of Mississippi, for instance, at Blue Springs or Nissan, or is it something else, or is it all going to be shipped out?
Well, I don't know that I have the ability to guarantee who the end users and who the customers are going to be. Mm-hmm. But I think it's a pretty good assumption that automobile manufacturers are certainly using more and more aluminum in their products. Yep. In today's world than they did, say, 10 years ago. And so I definitely think the automobile industry will be one of many potential customers for this particular entity.
So I'm reading between the line, and just for some of the legislators driving in, if they decide not to do this, a particular massive additional factory that might want to use it and be close to a manufacturer could also be lost in the future.
No, there's no doubt that we have significant potential. If we are able to get this done today, we have significant potential for job growth, not just in this particular region of the state, but throughout the state. And that's one of the things, Paul, that I think is really important to note here. This is a major economic impact act. This requires legislative action. But as so many legislators from across Mississippi know, and these are Republicans and Democrats, and these announcements have been in Republican and Democrat areas across the state. We have literally had announcements in every region of our state, virtually every county of our state. Within the next 5 business days, even after this session occurs, I'm going to be in Hancock County one day, and I'm going to be in Alcorn County one day over the next week to announce or cut ribbons on new projects. And so my point in pointing that out is simply saying there's a lot of economic growth, and there's a lot of momentum in every region of our state in Mississippi right now. And now is our moment. Now is a special time to be in Mississippi, and now is our time to take advantage of it. And look, we have our differences, and we fight internally at the legislature every year over certain issues. But historically, economic development has been a bipartisan sport. It's been a team sport, and I'm hopeful that's what we'll see today.
Does your statement on making an additional effort to completely eliminate the income tax play into this? Because when people look at some of the metrics, income tax certainly is one of the things that plays into it.
Well, we won this project in spite of the fact that we are currently at a competitive disadvantage with Texas and Florida and Tennessee with respect to the income tax. I'm going to continue to push for lowering it. The legislature made a good faith effort last year, and we reduced it by approximately a third. That's progress. I've been in the legislative process long enough to know that every year you don't get everything that you want. You've got to keep working at it, and I'm going to keep working to fully eliminate it and put Mississippi in an even better spot. But that's another topic for another day. It will not be in the call for the special session, and I do not plan at this time to add any additional topics. We'll get through this first major economic impact act, and then we'll go from there.
We had yesterday national news, actually it was international news. It was in the overseas papers that Jackson, Mississippi's water is now safe to drink. They just printed that yesterday. But your analysis now, as we look at this in the month of November, the second day, because you made an announcement last week that, look, November 22nd, I believe it is, we're washing our hands as far as the state taxpayers, and you guys are on your own. Does that mean they will not be getting any money from the state then, or we will give it to them with no requirements attached?
Well, the initial decision to get engaged and involved in the Jackson water crisis occurred on August the 29th. Just to give you a little bit of a history, on July 29th, the State Department of Health issued a citywide boil water notice. That was in effect for 30 days. That was because of the city's inability to deliver clean water to the residents of Jackson. On August the 29th, what ultimately led us to issue the state of emergency and ask the president to do the same was the fact that not only were we dealing with an issue in terms of the quality, i.e. clean water, we were at risk of an inability for the city to produce any water at the O.B. Curtis facility, which would have led to no water in the water tanks. No water in the water tanks leads to no water in the water pipes. No water in the water pipes leads to no waters in the toilets throughout Jackson, and an inability to flush toilets. An inability to flush toilets in a city of 151,000 people for an extended period of time leads to chaos. And so what we did is we declared the emergency. The president soon followed suit. We then set up an incident command center, and I can't tell you how incredibly thankful and incredibly proud I am of the Mississippi Emergency Management Agency, the Mississippi State Department of Health, the Mississippi National Guard. We set up that joint incident command center. It did include members from the city as well, and within 2 days we eliminated the quantity of water challenges. Within 2 weeks we eliminated the quality of water issues and were able to deliver clean water, and now we're seeing testing being done by the EPA, and we're hopeful that the city water will be in compliance with the Safe Drinking Water Act, the federal law, through that testing. And so I'm hopeful and confident that will occur. The people from the state that have been engaged have been incredibly helpful, and I can't thank them enough. The city has alerted us that they are doing a process wherein they plan to hire an outside operator for the O.B. Curtis and the fuel water plants. That process is ongoing. They have alerted us that will be done and completed and finalized by November the 17th. If, in fact, that is the case, then obviously our need to have 20 to 25 state employees at the water treatment facility will not be necessary anymore, because the entire state of emergency is based upon the mere fact that the city just simply, through their own emergency, declared and stated that they were unable to run those plants at that time. And so we'll see what happens over the next several days and several weeks before any final decisions are made, but it certainly behooves us to get the state of emergency done as soon as possible. We have moved, Paul, from the emergency phase to the recovery phase, just like we do in tornadoes, just like we do in hurricanes. We have made that transition, and it's time for the city to show that they can do it.
I guess I'm sure there are going to be some bills forwarded, maybe by the Black Caucus or others, for funding bills through the legislative session. Do you know if those will be entertained, or?
I have no doubt that there will be a large number of bills filed by a large number of different people with respect to this particular infrastructure need in our state and others. And I feel confident that they'll be entertained by the leadership, whether it's an appropriation bill through the appropriation committees or a bond bill through the Ways and Means and the finance committees. And those chairmen will look at those asks along with every other ask out there and determine what's in the best use of those limited resources that the state has.
I do have a couple of legislators who are driving in saying that, just to clarify, nothing else is added to the call today. That as far as, well, I wouldn't say as far as you know, you are the person who would do that.
No, we have already, the call is already public. We put the call out late yesterday afternoon, and there is no other issue in the call of the special session.
2023 session will be here before you know it. Anything that you want to highlight here, or just kind of give us a little bit of a preview over the holidays of what's on the top of your agenda list on this?
Well, I will tell you, we are singularly focused today on getting this largest economic development deal in the history of Mississippi done. Once we get that behind us, we're going to continue to focus on growing our economy. And the legislature have given us the tools, and we've, working together, made some significant progress in a number of areas over many years, and we're going to continue to work towards that. But look, as we get into the new session, as a reminder to everyone, 2023 is an election year. 2023 being an election year, I think you probably won't see as much interesting actions, shall we say, from the legislature. People, I think, by and large, will be focused on doing the little things and getting back home and campaigning.
Well, last year was kind of a record year. Real quick here, it looks like the communiversity is going to be even busier than they are now over at in the Golden Triangle.
The communiversity is a joint project between the state, the local governments, and the community college, East Mississippi Community College. It's a beautiful facility, and it's something that I think we can all be proud of, and it just shows our belief as a state in investing in our own people and training and retraining our workforce.
Best.
And that's important.
Best is yet to come. Governor, thank you for taking the time, sir. Appreciate it very much.